During the opening of the meeting, make sure that you do thank people for their time. Time is valuable, but don't make a big deal of it. And just let them know that one of the things that you do is specialize in making lives easier for the people in the room. And that's not saying that you're there to sell something, but you're saying that you can hopefully improve the quality of their lives, either within business or by getting them home a little earlier to spend some time with their family and their kids, and that you're looking forward to working with them. And try to open with a wow statement. Now, a wow statement is something that only you can deliver, and it might be as simple as I was in Chicago and did a presentation there, and we had a chap who purchased some of our products a week after that, and he wrote me a note to say that I'd saved his marriage. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about that later in the presentation. So that's kind of a wow statement. It's something that it's a personal level statement. It could also be just a business benefit statement, something like, we saved XYZ company $2 million in the first 3 months that they used our product. I'd love to show you how we did that and give you a bit of customer feedback at the same time. So try to open with something that will pique interest and make sure that they're looking forward to seeing that at some point during the presentation. So they'll be looking for that, and that helps them to keep interested and stay awake, which is important. Okay, the background. Let people know that you've done some research about their organization or about them, and that you know a little bit about the industry, and you have possibly some relevant customer experiences or experiences that you think might be of interest to them. Let them know that you think you have something to offer them, but again, you're not sure. Hopefully at the end of this meeting you'll have worked that out and see whether there is a good fit between you and them, and some opportunity to do some business together. If you go in too hard with the sales pitch too early, you can turn off a lot of the audience. They won't be listening to much more after you've covered your general background statements if you're not careful. Then we want to talk about, based on about your experience in the industry, and that from your understanding, based on hopefully some discussions that you had with some key people before this meeting was set up, or based on the research that you've done or other people that you've talked to in the industry, that there are probably 3 really critical issues that they need to address, and that you think you might have some solutions to those things that are generating great benefits for other people. So make sure that as you introduce those key things, that these 3 things that you're introducing are actually critical issues to the people in the room. Now, as you went around the room earlier and asked people what they really wanted to see, quite often those 3 issues will appear. Maybe some others will appear as well, so you might be able to throw 1 or 2 others into the mix if need be. But try to keep it to 3 items, because that's a reasonable number and an easy number for people to remember. Now we get to really the middle part of the presentation here, where we start to address beliefs. And there are ways that you can change beliefs. So for example, if someone had a belief that XYZ, a competitor of ours, was the #1 company, let's say it was the Ford Motor Company, for example. Someone had a belief that Ford was the #1 vehicle manufacturer in the United States, and you had a different belief. You had a belief that actually Chrysler was #1. You're there to present Chrysler as the #1 solution. Now, the first thing when you try to change a belief is to actually agree with that person's belief in a way that doesn't get them too uncomfortable. And what you can say is something like this, that, yeah, look, a few years ago I used to, like you, I was a big fan of Ford motor vehicles. I believed they were #1 and always would be, and based on some of the vehicles I saw at the time and what I knew of the industry, I was certainly a big fan of their products. So what we're doing is aligning our belief with our prospect's belief. But then we want to show another possibility. And then we want to show that that possibility has actually been proven by a number of people, and that now you have a new belief. And what you're doing is, as you do this, you're going to take them through your own thinking about this belief, and people will go along on that journey with you. They will start putting themselves in your shoes and starting to feel like you felt. So this is a very powerful process. So what I would say is something like this. So I can understand that you may have been a big Ford fan, because as I say, I felt very much the same way myself. But then I started to look into some of the statistics around cars, and I have a young family, like many of you mentioned earlier, and I started to realize that from a safety perspective, actually the Chrysler vehicles tended to have a much greater record. And from a service perspective also, the cost of service, and particularly wear and tear on some of the consumables like tyres, was much lower on the same sort of range of family cars for the Chrysler vehicles than the Ford counterparts. And I started to think about what was really important to me in my use or purchase of a vehicle. Certainly making sure that my trip was safe, particularly with my family on board, and then making sure that it wasn't an expensive vehicle to maintain, because cost of ownership is important to me. So when I looked into that, and I found a number of people, and I found a couple of websites, and a number of people were talking about just how reliable those vehicles were, and how they were getting much more mileage out of the tyres on the vehicles, because they seemed to have better suspension and better tuned to the road conditions in the area. That I saw I wasn't the only person that thought that way. There were thousands and thousands of people, and in fact some of these particular models are outselling Ford in certain categories. So what we've done there is we've taken a belief, but we've given people a new possibility, and from a particular perspective that maybe they hadn't even thought of, they might think that the Chrysler is actually a better vehicle. So you can apply that to your own products and think about something that you have compared to maybe your competitor, and just position that differently. But first of all, empathize with them in the position that they hold, and you'll find it's quite easy to take people on that journey. Now, backing this up, you can also add additional proof, because the more proof you put on this, the more credible you're going to be, and the greater the spikes are going to be on that proof chart that we looked at. So if you have some expert reports, a safety report, a wear and tear report, mileage and so on, cost of servicing report, customer testimonials, listen to a couple of people who recently purchased your vehicle and tell about or talk about their experience, maybe some people that were in some accidents, to back up the claims of vehicle safety. You can do all sorts of things with customer testimonials, and also saying, by the way, I found this in print. This is from the New York Times website, or from the newspaper. Put up an article that talks about that. That again is another reference point. Anything that you can point to that maybe has a university study or some kind of credible expert talking about the subject matter is going to add validity to your statements. So back it up with proof, and you have a very, very powerful tool for changing beliefs. For example, in the software industry, I used to think that maybe XYZ was the best product, but then I thought maybe there were other products that were just as good that I didn't know about, and I did some research, and I found out that there were a number of alternatives, and a recent Gartner Group study proved conclusively that these new products were actually better value than the ones that I'd been thinking about previously. So now I'm positive that I have some other viable solutions that I can go with. So anything at all can be applied to this formula and will change beliefs. Now the beauty of this is that beliefs change in an instant. So if your argument is conclusive and your proof is strong enough, people will change beliefs in a heartbeat, and they rarely go back on those beliefs if the proof follows through and they have the experience that you've claimed.